So,
Cool.
as it always does on Yelling About Movies, the pendulum has swung back to fascism.
My horse, the kingdom for a horse.
Oh yeah.
Which is really good because the Jeep is stuck on debris and the horse would have made it over the
That's right.
I like those little choices in this.
So they must have been rebuilding the Battersea Power Station because
I think it was available for shooting back then.
It was before it became the Tate Modern. So it's a couple of years later that it becomes the Tate Modern. So it's just in disrepair.
So it's just decommissioned and yeah.
Well, no, it looked like they had gutted it inside because it had all that scaffolding.
What time period? What time period is this supposed to take place in?
Well, the fictional 1930s,
alternate 1930s.
Yeah, where it's alternate universe 30s. Where
hence the very Nazi-looking thing behind Chris.
Yeah, it's deliberately, but you never see a swastika. You never see an SS logo.
No, they replace all of them
SS uniforms. That is for sure.
Yes. The hog, which was his emblem.
That's right.
And
well, just look at Scott just changed it, but
sorry.
Richard's glasses were very Nazi.
Yeah, well, the 30s they're around. Any glasses?
They're the same ones.
It's like the guy in
Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, Nazi guy.
Again, the one the standout for me in this film, I thought was Kristen Scott Thomas. She broke my heart. She was
Annette Bening's also.
She was also fabulous, really good.
Yeah. I didn't finish, but this cast is amazing.
Robert Downey Jr.
Amazing.
They could have just
You know what? He did what he could.
He had very little to do, but he was so Robert Downey Jr. in this. It was great casting.
Yeah.
So they worked together. Ian McKellen and Robert Downey Jr. worked together on another movie that actually beat this for all of the Oscars that it was nominated for that year.
Which was which?
I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And he was writing the script. McKellen co-wrote the adaptation for this, and he offered Robert Downey Jr. a part in it, and he thought the part was too small and he wouldn't take it. And Downey was like, "I want to keep working with you," and immediately cleared his schedule and took
That's right.
it, even though it's a part that's smaller than he was as an actor at the time.
The movie was Restoration.
Restoration. Yes.
Restoration. Yeah.
Oh, I think I've seen Restoration.
Yeah. Also, they're watching the footage of a coronation. What the hell is she smoking?
I think that's a cigarette holder.
Oh, okay. I hope so because it looked like a big like an ivory carved cigarette holder. Or like she was getting really high while watching the footage. I'm not sure exactly what was going on there.
I had never seen this before, but I remember distinctly seeing the trailers for it when it came out, and the impression I always had of the film that it was going to be very grim and dark, and all the fascist imagery and stuff, and it's pretty goofy.
It is.
Well, all the jazz music.
And they're breaking the fourth wall all the time. That's
the breaking the fourth wall. I mean, Ian McKellen is mugging, man.
Yeah, he's having a great time.
He is having so much fun.
So the original play, the whole point is to make fun of the Yorks. Like he was not crippled like this in real life. He wasn't hunched over. He didn't have an
scoliosis.
Yeah, he had a mild case of scoliosis.
And he was buried in a parking lot.
And the whole point,
they found him. He was buried in an abbey.
They found him in a parking lot.
Was that
technically
he had to make the Lancasters the good guys, and he had to make the Yorks the bad guys. So he takes every turn that he possibly can to make them as evil as possible, and also as sort of like fraudulent and goofy as possible in the play. And McKellen, being a scholar of Shakespeare and an unbelievable Shakespearean actor, understands this innately from reading the actual script, and leans into it heavily in this in a way that very, very few Shakespeare adaptations actually lean into the comedy of the plays. All of them have humor in them. Like there's
you had to keep the groundlings happy, or they revolt, start throwing feces.
If you read enough Shakespeare, if you read enough Shakespeare, it's like three stories just over and over again in different ways.
Yeah,
right.
In some ways, yeah.
This is a pretty simple story. It's just he kills everybody who's in his way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's very Shakespeare.
You know, they were writing it for the Tudors, basically,
Right.
because, you know, Elizabeth was Henry VIII's daughter. And his father, Henry VIII's father, the Welsh prince there, you know, they had to make the Yorkists look bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Well, it's the same reason why Macduff is the hero of Macbeth.
Yeah.
Because that's James the First's like great or grandfather, one or the other.
Right.
Like, yeah. Like it's you have to like I was actually talking to my mom about this, and I assume the audience doesn't know my mother's an English teacher, has a master's in English, like all of that stuff. And we were talking about that relationship between him and the royal family. And I was like, yeah, Mom, like you have to write to make your patron happy, especially if your patron can have you killed.
Yeah.
Like,
or just closed down at, you know, best.
They can have you canceled.
They were still burning people for being the wrong religion at that point in time.
At the time, it was still legal to be a Catholic by the time these plays came out.
Yeah.
So
the other thing I wanted to say was the breaking the fourth wall thing is totally Shakespearean.
Yeah.
I mean, you have choruses that directly address the audience.
There's so much exposition.
Comedy scenes are mugging and doing that sort of thing. There's just a history of it. So
he writes a lot of exposition that they just want to give straight to the audience.
Although, explain this. Explain that. Why is he giggling his head off when he's falling to his death? I don't understand what the emotional crest is in this. Not to be spoiler
that's
alert.
not in the play, right? That's a directorial choice.
Yeah.
I think it's because in this situation he chooses to kill himself rather than be killed. So it's his final victory is that you didn't defeat me.
Right.
Hence the Al Jolson song playing too, sitting at the top of the world. Yeah,
and the Al Jolson song I thought was great.
It was actually neat. It kicked it off. Again, it's nice and light in a lot of ways.
And the song from the beginning is based on a poem that predates Shakespeare. Like that's something that I think is very interesting as well. Like it
said that the text was by Marlowe.
Yeah,
the lyrics.
All right.
So I think that's very interesting that they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna link the sort of the jazz age and the classic times through the course of this movie. Also, this is probably only going to be funny to me, but the name of this screenshot in my screenshot folder is Richard III, because this is literally when he becomes Richard III.
Right. Yeah. Okay. There it is.
Just because I number them as I go. So this is the.
I saw this when it came out.
The third screenshot.
I remember liking it a lot.
Where'd you see it?
I saw it on video. I think I bought the Laserdisc because of blind buy, because it's one of those like I just know I'm going to like this. And
good cast.
Yeah.
And
a thin Jim Broadbent.
Yeah.
Half of Downton Abbey's in this movie.
The cast is
very young McNulty.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing for me that really we watched we watched the Macbeth movie not a few months ago. And I'm not familiar enough to know like what exactly it was McKellen changed about the Shakespearean text. My understanding is he kind of dialed it back a little bit. I find.
Well, he had to cut a shit ton if it's an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes.
A lot was removed.
This is like a 4-hour play.
Right. Exactly.
It's the second longest Shakespearean play.
It's the reading of the lines. Like I think about like a movie like the Branagh, was it Henry V?
Yeah.
I think about.
Or Hamlet.
And Hamlet. His Hamlet's quite good. Yeah, it is.
These are like sometimes. I mean,
Great
I
Billy
think
Crystal
I review and you guys will laugh at me, but I find like Shakespeare for me is a lot of work. Like it is a lot of
work.
No, it is.
You have to really pay attention to what people are saying. It's not easy to digest.
The way that it's a combination.
That's why I don't care for it that much.
The charisma of this crazy cast and the fact that it kind of keeps everything a little light. Like it's so easy to. I'm not even thinking twice about. I'm not like, what did he just say? Rewind.
Right.
That I will do with occasionally with Shakespeare movies.
Yeah.
And
I got up to speed pretty fast.
Really
everyone who shits on the modern take on Shakespeare with the classic language misses the fact that at the time, everything that he was writing was essentially modern for them. And putting that language,
basically.
Right, putting that language with modern settings makes it much more digestible for people who aren't from that time.
Right.
Yeah, I liked that. I liked the Ethan Hawke Hamlet, dude. I thought that was.
I love the
rad.
Ethan Hawke Hamlet. Romeo and Juliet is one of my favorite.
I didn't mind the Mel
like,
Gibson one either. I thought it was pretty good.
So, and then just watching. I mean, so this is 5 years or 4 or 5 years before McKellen got picked to both play Magneto and Gandalf, right? Like,
actually, that was rolling up right. They're probably talking about casting for
95. X-Men was 2000. Lord of the Rings is 2001. So this is a good. Like, I looked at his filmography. Like, he'd been doing stuff, but this kind of put him on the radar in a much bigger way. Enough that Peter Jackson and 20th Century Fox decided to go put him in these tentpole movies. And just watching how much fun he is having with this and how fucking good he is in every single scene of this movie. Like, it's no wonder.
Well, this also allowed Bent to get made, so I think that's something that we really have to give it credit for.
Yeah.
Allowed what to get made?
Bent. Bent is
I'm not familiar with that.
Oh man, Bent is one of the roughest movies you can watch. It's about gay men in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
It's it's hard to watch. But it's spectacular.
I like hard to watch.
It gave him enough freedom to kind of go out and stake for money for that movie.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It is interesting to see these old Shakespearean actors finally get to do their version of one of their favorite plays.
Yeah.
The other one I think of is Peter Greenaway and John Gielgud's Prospero's books.
That was only streaming. I think that this is well acted, well directed. The production design is fantastic. Where it kind of lost it for me a little bit is when you get to when the tanks show up, and as John and I were talking about this the other night, like, it's obvious they only had like 2 tanks, and they're trying to do
both of which they borrowed from GoldenEye,
making this look bigger than it is. But like, oh my god, are we actually going to have a flippin' shootout in a factory? Because I've never seen that before.
No, it's a budget showed its edges at the end.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, but it didn't.
But the look of this film though is quite nice for 95. It doesn't look.
Oh no, it is beautifully shot, and the locations were great. And one thing about like doing Shakespeare in like kind of a modern milieu, kind of like you're trying to make it familiar for people. But this is a nice idea that they had, where you want to bring Shakespeare to people, and you kind of the dialogue is softened a bit, but you're not doing modern. You're doing the 30s.
Yeah,
it's far enough away to look kind of exotic, but also familiar.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it was really cleverly done.
It helps to sort of hide the the artificiality of the dialogue.
Exactly right. So it's
you set
slightly alien as opposed to the dialogue, which is completely alien. Yeah.
So you said it like as an actor, I've only done one Shakespeare, which was seriously one of the hardest things I've ever done because I was so afraid of the language.
Well, yeah, I could see that.
And so afraid of I did the Comedy of Errors. And I've talked about it a little bit before, but they said it in sort of like I don't know, like vaudeville times, it was like and so Jim is exactly right. When you Shakespeare is so lovely in the sense that you can pick a period and just put it in that period, and but all the dialogue is exactly the same. It's exactly the same as it is.
That's true.
The day he wrote it.
I'm from Santa Cruz. Shakespeare Santa Cruz is notorious for doing arbitrary resettings of things, like was it Julius Caesar on the moon, and
right.
I know. And
Julius Caesar on the moon is definitely the name of a movie
and things
from the
like that.
1950s.
It's just bizarre.
Yeah, I mean this wasn't that
Santa
bizarre.
Santa Claus Conquers the Martian sequel, Julius Caesar on the moon.
Exactly right.
It's Pia Zadora's first appearance.
But this was not. It shows the kind of obviously gives you a reason to see kind of the regalness of the office of being a king, and also the trappings of wealth, which is interesting in this. Kind of plays more recognizable visually in this film that would be like in the days of the Tudors.
And they shot most of it in train stations, which is
well, yeah,
fancy.
it feels like it, yeah. And
well, yeah, because of the brutalist architecture, it also builds up. I like how it, you know, they start out with almost regular normal buildings, and then as you keep going and as the uniforms keep changing until you get finally to SS uniforms.
Literally a train station behind.
I thought that was kind of a weird.
They're in train stations in Italy, it looks like.
When the black with the silver collar patches, I'm like, no, they went a little too far on that, I thought.
But those
I mean, the whole thing is pretty.
Those symbols are immediately understandable.
Yeah.
Like
it worked as subtext. I'll give you that.
Right.
Yeah.
And they gave and I do think it's interesting that all of the York people are all armed and using, except for the Jeep, are using German and Italian World War II era guns and things like that, and the Lancasters are all using American and British stuff,
which is nice emphasis. You know, you think about it, it's actually how you kind of separate one from the other.
Good use of Bristol Blenheim, which you don't see very often because they were terrible planes.
This was my first exposure to this play, the Shakespeare play.
Oh wow!
So I was really sort of like enjoying the story, completely fresh. And I just wanted to shout out my favorite scene, which was with Ian McKellen and Annette Bening, and he takes her into the train car, and it's like the setup is it's like, okay, now I need to marry your daughter.
Right.
And he's killed everybody else that she cares about.
That's
and I'm like, how the fuck is he ever going to convince her? And that Bill Shakespeare, man, he wrote that scene, and of course McKellen delivers it so well that you can see her like go from you monster, you know, and I will never consider this. By the end of the scene, it's like she's considering it.
Yeah, but what she's actually considering is we got to get her married off to the other guy
Richmond.
now.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
nonetheless, so you're a good point, because that
I mean, he went there. I was like, how is this scene even going to work?
McKellen sold
and also
it.
It's like a
the
double
hell out of that scene.
Yeah.
Because it's a bookend to the opening scene of the same thing, which is him wooing the widow of the person he's just killed.
The person he just killed, right? Yeah,
which he didn't. Of all the people that Richard kills in this in the play,
historically he did not.
Historically, he did not. They don't even know what happened to the princes of the Tower. And there's a great, if you get a chance to see it, it's probably streaming somewhere. The Tower of London, it's called, I believe. And it's got Boris Karloff in a minor role. And they kill, I think he plays Trevor or whatever the guy's name is, the one who actually does the strangulation.
Oh yeah,
Trevor was a fun character. He's like, Tender the Royal Pigs ended up being the official.
I like him feeding the pigs, and
that was great.
And throws it.
He's like,
which was improvised.
It was really.
Yes.
When he throws the apple at the pig.
Yes. He wasn't supposed to hand the apple piece to him, and he did it in the moment, and McKellen just took it and whipped it at the pig. And so they put the squeal in on the track, and that's
But that was like that was like a Scarface moment. Hey, you want a job? You know, kind of thing.
Yeah, you want
Well, the part right after this, where he comes up and he stands next to him and he tells him to kill the kids, and he's holding the chocolates.
Yes.
Oh, the way Jim Broadbent and Ian McClellan eat those candies is really, or bonbons, is kind of obscene almost.
This is a tough movie with the kid killing.
Well,
and then everybody in this,
and he literally has an orgasm after he takes the candy and walks away. Like it's man, the performances in this are so fucking good. Like it's just unbelievable acting. Like I
can have ranch if you want,
and also capital A acting too. Like
capital A acting, but phenomenally great.
Yeah. Well, and again with Shakespeare stories that are so broad, that are so, that are supposed to be generally acceptable to the public. Like this wasn't art at the time. This was popular entertainment. They're made for caricatures. Like the characters are caricatures top to bottom.
Kind of a popcorn movie.
Right. We think of them as being much more nuanced now, but that's mostly because we don't understand the language as well. Yelling "Get thee to a nunnery" is
who's gonna thumbs down Shakespeare
hold
now?
Hold on. Before we get that, I want to ask Chris why he picked this, because it's like it's kind of random.
I wish there were. I could tell you there's some science. It's literally like my list now is so flipping long that all I do is just I wait till about 3 or 4 days or 2 days before we do the show, and I was like, what's free right now? And I was scrolling around going, oh, there it is. Like it was just an aha moment.
Oh, okay.
I think you guys will like it. Hopefully no one's, not a lot of you have seen it. It's been a while since I've seen it. I remember this being great. And maybe
I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater, man. It was beautifully done.
Yeah, basically I haven't seen it since it came out.
Well, I'm looking forward to finishing it because I love what I saw. It's a thumbs up.
Right. And I'm a lunatic who watches this every year. So
yeah, big thumbs up. Well done.
You could watch worse things.
Yeah.